So today we're going to read from Varaha Vidura in Kapila, Srimad Bhagavatam's third canto. We're going to read chapter 7. So Vidura now has heard from Maitreya how the universe has evolved to become capable of sustaining life. But now he has a big question. Why? Specifically, his question is, this universe is a limited thing. I mean, its forms, its manifestations are temporary, but the spirit, the soul, the consciousness is unlimited and eternal. So why? Why would the soul bother manifesting in this limited existence? Why would the soul bother manifesting in the universe? And he asked this question in two scopes. One question is, why would Bhagavan, the ultimate soul, why would he bother creating such a thing? And the other scope of the question is, why would the individual jivas, why would they bother inhabiting such a place? These spiritual entities are all unlimited and infinite. Why would they bother interacting with this limited, finite universe? So that's Vidura's questions, and Maitreya is going to answer them in this chapter. Vidura, the wise child of Vyas, posed some questions in a very pleasant and humble way. He wanted to know why the finite world would attract and contain the infinite consciousness of the Supreme and the individual souls. The all-attractive, he said, is a changeless, unlimited spiritual substance. Why would he limit himself by creating the cosmos and becoming its prototype life form? Maitreya's answer? It is just play. Leela. Why would he play? Vidura asks incredulously. Little children play, trying to fulfill their needy desires and getting themselves into trouble for it. But the all-attractive is self-satisfied, eternally without want or need. I don't understand why he would play. Maitreya explained that it is the individual souls who are needy and get themselves into trouble by playing with things. The play of the all-attractive is his endeavor to rescue them from these troubles. This play is not motivated by need, but by love. Okay. So Maitreya's answer is, no, Bhagavan, he does not manifest this universe for himself. None of his own needs are fulfilled by manifesting this universe. He manifests this universe for the sake of individual consciousnesses who want to play with things. So Hari's play in this universe is love, to try to save the living entities from their kind of meaninglessness. But the living entities' play is actually like the play of a child. They're needy and they want to play with objects, toys. So now Vidura is going to ask specifically about the individual souls. He says, what about the individual soul? It is also composed of comprehensive awareness that cannot be extinguished at any time, in any place, or under any circumstance. So how can it come under the influence of ignorance? Right? In order for the soul to come into this universe, it has to become blinded to the fact that it's not part of this universe. So it has to become covered by ignorance. So Vidura is saying, how is that even possible? How is it even possible for the soul to play with this universe? The soul has nothing to do with this external stuff. So how is it possible, he's asking? How can it come under the influence of ignorance? It is a fragment of the blissful all-attractive, so how can it get involved in deeds that bring misfortune and misery? This confusion is like a dungeon encaging my mind. Please free me from it. The scholar Maitreya seems struck with wonder to hear such penetrating, astute questions. By focusing his heart upon the all-attractive, he overcame his amazement and began to reply. So Maitreya was like, whoa, these are serious questions. But he centered himself upon Bhagavan and he began to reply. His reply, you are right. It contradicts all logic to claim that an unlimited entity can become limited as a result of ignorance and illusion. Therefore, the logical conclusion is that the soul's loss of knowledge is only apparent. When the moon reflects on water, the moon seems to quiver. But in truth, only the water quivers. The moon in the sky does not. This is how the seer sees ignorance and limitation within himself, although it is not truly within himself. Since ignorance is not truly part of the eternal soul, Maitreya explained, we can certainly escape from it. We reflect our consciousness into this limited world, so we seem to be limited, although we're not. And so Maitreya says, so that's good news, because it means that these limitations have not become a part of us. There's still something external to us. We're just associating with them. We're just identifying with these limitations. We can become liberated from them. So now Vidura says, how? Maitreya says, by the affectionate grace of Vasudev's son, ignorance disappears. We avail of that grace by disassociating with the unreal reflected self and forming a real identity, lovingly related to the all-attractive. As we form this identity, our senses cease to hunger for pleasure and instead seek the pleasure of Hari, the ultimate root of the ever-seeing self, who charms and attracts with his unique glances upon us. Thus our nightmare of ignorance and misery completely ceases. So the way to get liberated from limitations is just to stop projecting ourselves into this limiting situation. We're forming an identity based upon limited things because we're projecting a consciousness into these limited things. Maitreya's answer is very simple. He says, if you just stop projecting into these limited situations, you'll stop being associated with them. So instead, pull the senses and mind away from this limited world and focus it upon the all-attractive, who's the root of your seeing self. So Vidura would ask, what inspires the soul to turn from the familiar pleasure of the external senses and instead seek the pleasure of Hari? Maitreya explained, when a soul hears descriptions of Murari's qualities, it becomes inspired towards passionate, loving service to his lotus-like feet. This is the beginning of the road to indescribable bliss. So that's how you do it. That's how you pull your senses out from the external limited world and focus them on Hari, by hearing about Hari. So you need to read a couple of books like this. Read the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the rest of the chapter, Vidura just gets really, really, really happy. He gets really psyched that he heard such an amazing answer to this intense question. And then he just encourages Maitreya to continue the story. You know, Maitreya had explained how the universe originated and how it evolved all its parts, and that all those parts came together to form this prototype of everything that would be in the universe. So now Vidura asks him like 24 questions or something, specific details. Okay, go ahead, now keep going. Tell me what's going to happen next. I know Brahma's going to come next, so what's he going to create, and what kind of families, what kind of things happen, what kind of stuff happens afterwards. So Vidura is encouraging Maitreya to get back to the main story so that we can get to the appearance of the Varaha avatar, which is the focus of this section of the Bhagavatam. So that's chapter 7. Hari Bol. So the rest of the chapter, Vidura just gets really, really, really happy. He gets really psyched that he heard such an amazing answer to this intense question. And then he just encourages Maitreya to continue the story. You know, Maitreya had explained how the universe originated and how it evolved all its parts, and that all those parts came together to form this prototype of everything that would be in the universe. So now Vidura asks him like 24 questions or something, specific details. Okay, go ahead, now keep going. Tell me what's going to happen next. I know Brahma's going to come next, so what's he going to create, and what kind of families, what kind of things happen, what kind of stuff happens afterwards. So Vidura is encouraging Maitreya to get back to the main story so that we can get to the, appearance of the Varaha avatar, which is the focus of this section of the Bhagavatam. So that's chapter 7. Haribol.